Your foot swelling isn't random. Something in your diet is triggering it. Most people blame salt, heat, or age, but there's another trigger hiding in plain sight. And yes, tea can be one of them. Not all tea, but the wrong kind consumed daily can quietly make swelling worse without you realizing. That's why in this video, I'm counting down 8 UK tea brands that are better choices if you're trying to avoid foot swelling. After that, I'll expose 3 popular UK tea brands that cause foot swelling, and finally show you how to spot a good tea brand yourself, so you're never fooled by packaging again. Almost everyone watching this is making the same tea mistake. Even people who think they're choosing healthy brands. I'll explain it, because once you understand it, you'll never buy tea the same way again. So stay with me until the end. Let's start with the tea brands that help avoid foot swelling. Good tea. 8. Higher Living. Higher Living makes this list because it focuses heavily on herbal blends that avoid many of the biggest triggers linked to foot swelling. Unlike standard black teas, Higher Living is built around caffeine-free herbs like peppermint, chamomile, ginger, and fennel, ingredients people often turn to when they want something gentler on the body. That matters because caffeine and aggressive processing can quietly worsen dehydration, which in turn encourages fluid to pool in the feet and ankles. Another reason Higher Living stands out is how it's positioned in the UK market. It's widely available, especially in health food shops and supermarkets, and it avoids a lot of the artificial flavouring and chemical processing that show up in mass-market tea brands. That cleaner approach reduces the risk of irritation and inflammation for people who are already sensitive to swelling. That said, it's not a perfect solution, and that's important to be honest about. Some Higher Living blends combine several herbs in one bag. For many people that's fine, but for others, drinking the same multi-herb blend every single day can cause mild bloating or unexpected fluid shifts. Natural doesn't always mean neutral, especially if your body reacts strongly to certain plants. Where Higher Living works best is as a rotational tea, something you drink a few times a week, paying attention to how your body responds. Compared to heavily processed teas made from dust and fragments, it's a calmer, more balanced option that's far less likely to aggravate swelling. It earns its place here because it avoids the biggest red flags, prioritizes herbal ingredients, and gives your body a better chance to maintain proper hydration and circulation. But it's only the beginning. The next tea brand on this list goes even further when it comes to sourcing and ingredient control, and that difference matters more than most people realize. Good tea. 7. Dragonfly tea. Dragonfly tea earns its place on this list because it puts far more emphasis on quality and transparency than most teas people drink every day. One of the biggest reasons tea can contribute to foot swelling is how aggressively it's processed. Many mainstream brands rely on crushed tea dust and fragments, which release compounds very quickly and can be harsher on the body. Dragonfly tea takes a different approach. It focuses on whole leaf teas and carefully sourced ingredients, which tend to brew more gently and consistently. That matters because when tea is less aggressive, it's less likely to trigger dehydration or irritate the digestive system. 2 factors that often worsen fluid retention in the feet and ankles. People don't usually connect swelling to digestion or hydration, but the body handles fluids as a system. When one part is stressed, the effects often show up somewhere else. Another reason Dragonfly tea stands out is its clear sourcing philosophy. The brand is known in the UK for working with specific regions and estates rather than blending anonymous bulk leaves. That reduces the likelihood of contaminants and inconsistent batches, which can be an issue with cheaper teas that prioritize scale over quality. Dragonfly also offers a strong range of lighter teas and herbal options that don't rely on overpowering caffeine. For people who drink tea multiple times a day, that lower intensity can make a real difference. It allows you to enjoy the ritual of tea without constantly pushing your body toward dehydration. It's not marketed as a swelling cure, and it shouldn't be treated as one. But compared to heavily processed supermarket teas, Dragonfly is far less likely to contribute to the kind of daily stress that leads to puffiness and heaviness in the lower body. This is the kind of tea that works best when you're paying attention to quality over quantity. Fewer cups, better leaves, and a calmer response from your body. And while Dragonfly improves on processing and sourcing, the next brand on this list focuses even more deliberately on traditional herbal balance, which is where things start to get interesting. Good Tea 6. Chi Teas. Chi Teas makes this list because it's designed around balance, not stimulation. And that distinction matters a lot when foot swelling is part of the picture. Many people don't realize that swelling isn't just about water intake. It's about how well your body moves and manages fluids. Chi Teas is built on principles from traditional herbal practices, where circulation, digestion, and fluid movement are treated as one connected system. That philosophy alone puts it ahead of most everyday teas. Instead of relying on strong black tea bases or aggressive caffeine hits, Chi Teas focuses on herbs like ginger, nettle, dandelion, and warming spices that are traditionally associated with circulation and gentle fluid balance. These ingredients are commonly used by people who experience heaviness or stagnation in the body, especially in the lower limbs. Another reason Chi Tea stands out is intentional formulation. The blends are not random combinations meant to taste strong or exciting. They're built to work together, which reduces the chance of irritation that can happen when herbs clash or overwhelm the system. For someone dealing with swelling, that thoughtful composition can make a noticeable difference over time. Chi Teas is also widely available in the UK through health food shops and online retailers, which makes it a practical option rather than a niche import. And while the flavors are bold, they don't rely on artificial enhancers or hidden additives that can quietly aggravate inflammation. That said, Chi Teas is still something to drink mindfully. Some blends are warming and stimulating in a different way, and if you overdo them, they can feel intense. Used properly though, they're far less likely to contribute to the dehydration retention cycle that causes swelling. Chi Teas earns this spot because it treats tea as more than a drink. It treats it as part of how the body maintains balance, and that's a big step up from most options people reach for daily. And while Chi Teas focuses on internal balance, the next brand improves things even further by changing what actually goes into the tea bag itself. Good Tea 5. Teapigs. Teapigs earns its place here because it changes one of the biggest problems with everyday tea, what you're actually drinking after it brews. A lot of foot swelling issues linked to tea don't come from tea itself. They come from tea dust. The finely ground remnants used in many mass-market tea bags release compounds very quickly and aggressively. That can irritate the digestive system, spike caffeine absorption, and subtly push the body toward dehydration. Over time, that dehydration can contribute to fluid pooling in the feet and ankles. Teapigs avoids this almost entirely by using whole leaf tea and large herbal pieces instead of dust. This slows down extraction, meaning the tea brews more evenly and gently. The result is a drink that's easier on your system, especially if you have more than 1 cup a day. Another reason Teapig stands out is ingredient transparency. What you see on the label is what you get. Peppermint actually looks like peppermint. Chamomile looks like chamomile. That matters because hidden flavorings and processing aids are often where irritation begins, even in products marketed as natural. Teapigs also offers a strong range of naturally caffeine-free herbal options, which is important for anyone dealing with swelling. Excess caffeine can increase fluid loss earlier in the day, only for the body to overcompensate later by retaining water, exactly the cycle that leads to evening puffiness. This doesn't mean Teapigs is a miracle solution. Drinking too much of anything, even good tea, can still throw your body off balance. But compared to conventional bagged teas, Teapigs dramatically reduces the risk factors that quietly worsen swelling. It makes the list because it prioritizes leaf quality, slower brewing, and ingredient honesty. 3 things most people never think about, but should. And while Teapigs improves what's inside the bag, the next brand takes things further by focusing on organic sourcing and targeted herbal blends. And that difference matters more than it sounds. Good Tea 4. Pukka Herbs. Pukka Herbs makes this list because it takes a much more deliberate approach to what goes into each blend, and that matters when foot swelling is part of the issue. One of the reasons tea can worsen swelling is hidden stress on the body, from pesticide residues, artificial flavorings, or poorly sourced ingredients that quietly promote inflammation. Pukka avoids much of this by committing to organic certification across its range. That means the herbs are grown without synthetic pesticides, which reduces one of the lesser-known contributors to fluid retention in sensitive individuals. Another reason Pukka stands out is how its blends are designed. Rather than throwing together herbs for taste alone, many of its teas are formulated around traditional herbal principles, pairing ingredients that are meant to work together rather than compete. This reduces the chance of digestive irritation, which is often overlooked but closely tied to how the body manages fluids. Pukka also focuses heavily on caffeine-free herbal infusions, which is a major advantage for anyone trying to avoid swelling. Caffeine can subtly dehydrate you earlier in the day, leading your body to hold onto water later, often in the feet and ankles. Removing that variable makes it easier for the body to stay balanced. The brand is widely available across UK supermarkets and health food stores, which makes it accessible rather than aspirational. And unlike some wellness-branded teas, Pukka is clear about what each blend contains, avoiding vague ingredient descriptions that leave consumers guessing. That said, even with a brand like Pukka, moderation still matters. Some blends contain warming spices or stronger herbs that may not suit everyone daily. The key is choosing blends that feel supportive rather than overwhelming. Pukka earns its place here because it removes many of the common triggers that make swelling worse: chemical exposure, caffeine overload, and poorly balanced blends, while keeping tea simple and intentional. And while Pukka focuses on organic herbs and formulation, the next brand improves on something many people don't even realize matters: the tea bag itself. Good tea. 3. Clipper tea. Clipper tea earns its place on this list because it removes one of the most overlooked contributors to swelling that almost nobody talks about: what the tea bag itself is made from. Many people assume foot swelling is only about ingredients, but packaging plays a role too. A large number of conventional tea bags contain plastic or heat-sealed materials that release microplastics when steeped in hot water. While the effects aren't always immediate, this kind of exposure can quietly irritate the body over time, contributing to low-grade inflammation that shows up as puffiness, heaviness, and water retention. Clipper avoids this by using plastic-free, unbleached tea bags, which significantly reduces that risk. It's a small detail, but when you drink tea every day, small details add up. Another reason Clipper stands out is its commitment to organic and fair trade sourcing. That means fewer pesticide residues and a more consistent quality of leaf, both of which matter if your body tends to react to irritants. Inflammation doesn't always come from obvious triggers. Sometimes it's the cumulative effect of tiny exposures over time. Clipper also keeps its ingredient lists simple. Whether it's a black tea, green tea, or herbal infusion, there's far less reliance on artificial flavorings or vague, natural flavor additives. That transparency makes it easier to understand how your body responds instead of guessing what might be causing discomfort. For people trying to reduce swelling, Clipper works best when you choose the lighter or herbal options and avoid overdoing the stronger black teas. The brand gives you flexibility without pushing your body too hard in any one direction. It earns this spot because it combines clean sourcing, cleaner packaging, and straightforward ingredients. 3 factors that quietly influence how your body manages fluid, even if you never consciously notice them. And while Clipper removes many hidden irritants, the next tea brand on this list goes even further by focusing on how the tea is grown from the soil up. Good tea too. Hampstead tea. Hampstead tea makes this list for one simple reason: it removes more hidden risks than almost any everyday tea people drink in the UK. If foot swelling is something you deal with, consistency matters. And Hampstead is one of the few brands that's obsessive about consistency from the soil all the way to your cup. Its teas are fully organic and biodynamic, which means the plants are grown in a way that avoids synthetic pesticides and prioritizes soil health. That might sound abstract, but for people sensitive to inflammation, those details can have very real effects. Another major reason Hampstead stands out is what it doesn't include: no artificial flavorings, no vague additives, and importantly, no plastic in the tea bags. The bags are paper-based and plastic-free, which reduces exposure to microplastics, something researchers increasingly associate with low-level inflammation and fluid imbalance over time. Hampstead also avoids the ultra-aggressive processing seen in cheaper black teas. The leaves are handled more gently, which means fewer harsh compounds are released all at once when you brew. For the body, that often translates to steadier hydration and less stress on circulation, especially if you drink multiple cups a day. What makes this brand different from others on the list is how predictable it is. When people talk about swelling, unpredictability is often the problem. One day you're fine, the next day your feet feel heavy for no clear reason. Hampstead reduces that variability. It gives you a cleaner baseline, which makes it easier to notice what truly helps and what doesn't. This is also a good moment to pause and say this. If this breakdown is helping you think differently about tea, take a second to like the video and subscribe. It helps this kind of deep, practical content reach more people, especially those dealing with issues no one explains properly. Hampstead earns number 2 because it strips tea down to its essentials and leaves out the quiet irritants that most brands never address. And yet, there's still one UK tea brand that goes even further. Not just in how it's grown or packaged, but in how long it's been trusted for gentle, everyday herbal use. That's why it takes the top spot. Good Tea 1. Heath and Heather. Heath and Heather takes the number 1 spot because it's one of the few UK tea brands that was built specifically around gentle, everyday herbal use, long before wellness became a marketing trend. This brand has been around for over a century, and that history matters. Heath and Heather wasn't created to deliver strong flavors or quick stimulation. It was created for people who wanted teas that worked with the body, not against it. When foot swelling is a concern, that philosophy makes a real difference. Most of Heath and Heather's range is naturally caffeine-free and centered on single herbs or very simple combinations. That simplicity is powerful. The fewer variables you introduce, the easier it is for your body to stay balanced. Herbs like nettle, lemon balm, peppermint, and dandelion have traditionally been used by people trying to support circulation and reduce that heavy, waterlogged feeling that builds up in the lower body. Another reason this brand stands out is how predictable it is. Many swelling issues are aggravated by inconsistency. One cup feels fine, the next leaves you bloated or uncomfortable. Heath and Heather avoids that roller coaster by keeping blends mild, steady, and intentionally understated. Nothing is designed to overwhelm your system. It's also widely available across the UK, which makes it realistic as a daily tea, not a niche product you drink once and forget about. And unlike many modern wellness brands, it doesn't rely on flashy claims or exaggerated promises. The approach is quiet, traditional, and restrained, and which is exactly what many people need when their body is already under stress. That doesn't mean it's a cure or a guarantee. No tea is, but if you're looking for the lowest risk, most body-friendly option to drink regularly while trying to avoid foot swelling, Heath and Heather offers one of the safest starting points. It earns number 1 because it does the least harm, introduces the fewest irritants, and supports balance rather than forcing results. Now, here's where things take a turn, because choosing good tea is only half the equation. Some of the most popular teas in the UK do the opposite, and most people drink them without ever suspecting a link to swelling. That's why next we need to talk about the tea brands you should avoid. Tea brands to avoid. Typhoo. Typhoo makes this list because it relies heavily on tea dust and small leaf fragments, which brew very fast and hit the body aggressively. This kind of processing can push the body toward dehydration earlier in the day, even if you don't feel thirsty. Later on, the body compensates by holding onto water, and that's when swelling often appears in the feet and ankles. Another issue is inconsistency. Because the leaves are blended at scale, strength and composition can vary, making reactions unpredictable for people sensitive to fluid retention. Typhoo isn't dangerous, but if you're dealing with foot swelling, it works against what you're trying to improve. It's a common, everyday tea that quietly creates the conditions swelling thrives on, and unfortunately, the next brand is even more popular and more likely to worsen that cycle. Tea brands to avoid. Tetley. Tetley earns this spot because it combines heavy processing with a style of tea that many people drink multiple times a day without realizing the impact. Like many mass-market teas, Tetley relies largely on finely cut leaves and dust designed to brew quickly and taste strong. That fast extraction means a sharper caffeine hit and a greater chance of subtle dehydration earlier in the day. When the body senses that fluid imbalance, it often responds by holding onto water later, and that's when swelling shows up, especially in the feet and ankles. Another issue is habit. Tetley is often the default tea in homes and workplaces, which means people drink it repeatedly without rotating or paying attention to how their body reacts. That repetition matters. Even mild dehydration or irritation when repeated daily can add up to noticeable puffiness over time. Tetley isn't unsafe, and for many people it causes no obvious problems. But if foot swelling is something you're trying to reduce, this style of strong, fast-brewing tea isn't helping. It keeps the body stuck in a stimulation and compensation loop that works against fluid balance. And if you think this one is hard to give up, the next brand is even harder, because it's one of the most widely consumed teas in the UK. Tea brands to avoid. PG Tips. PG Tips takes the top spot on the avoid list because it combines very fine tea particles with high daily consumption across the UK, a combination that quietly works against fluid balance. This tea is designed to brew fast and taste strong. That quick extraction delivers a sharper caffeine hit, which can subtly dehydrate you earlier in the day. When that happens repeatedly, the body often compensates later by retaining water, and that retention commonly shows up as swelling in the feet and ankles. Another issue is frequency, because PG Tips is everywhere. Homes, offices, cafes, people tend to drink it on autopilot. Multiple cups a day, day after day, makes even small imbalances add up. For anyone sensitive to swelling, that repetition matters more than the brand's familiarity. PG Tips isn't bad tea. But if you're actively trying to reduce puffiness or fluid retention, this style of fast, strong, highly processed tea is one of the least helpful options to drink daily. Now that you know which teas help and which ones quietly make things worse, there's one final piece that puts you in control. How to spot a good tea brand yourself. Start by looking at how the tea is processed. Whole leaves or visibly large herbal pieces are gentler than tea dust. They brew more slowly and are less likely to overstimulate or dehydrate you. Next, check caffeine levels. If swelling is an issue, prioritize herbal or low caffeine options, especially later in the day. Constant caffeine cycles push the body toward fluid imbalance. Pay attention to ingredients and sourcing. Short, clear ingredient lists are better. Organic certification helps reduce exposure to residues that can contribute to low-grade inflammation. Don't ignore the tea bag. Plastic-free bags reduce microplastic exposure, which may play a role in irritation over time. And most importantly, notice how your body responds. The best tea is the one that leaves you feeling lighter, not tighter, by the end of the day. Rotate blends, avoid drinking the same strong tea non-stop. And don't let branding replace awareness. If this video helped you see tea differently, take a moment to like it. It really helps this kind of practical, honest content reach more people. And subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this, where everyday foods and drinks are explained properly without hype or fear-mongering. Share this with someone who drinks tea every day and let me know in the comments which brand surprised you most.